Jake Wilson had been with Meridian Technologies for 17 years. From the early grueling days of dial-up connections to the transformative age of cloud computing. Over those years, he wasn't just a systems analyst. He was a cornerstone, the person who quietly ensured every intricate detail of the IT infrastructure remained intact, something the company deeply depended on. That morning, as sunlight peeked weakly through the office window, the atmosphere in the room felt cold, oddly disconnected from the brightness outside. From the moment Jake walked in, he sensed something was off. The printer buzzed faintly in the corner. Conversations among colleagues were happening, but their tones were weighed down by something unspoken. He knew it then. His influence, once solid and unshakable, the foundation behind the company's enterprise system, was fading. And that very morning, stepping through the department door, Jake received a polite yet icy message from his boss. "Dear Jake, please report to the management office at 10 a.m. today." Every word in that message struck like an ominous sign. Clutching his worn leather briefcase filled with documents and mementos from 17 years of devoted work, Jake made his way to the management office. He said nothing, just gave himself a wry smile, knowing that no matter what happened, he had already lived through the memories of a long, proud journey. Inside the office, dim fluorescent light reflected off the weathered face of a man who had endured the storms of a long career. Sitting across from him were Daniel, his manager, and Vanessa from HR, both bearing unreadable expressions. No pleasantries, no preamble. Daniel simply stated, "Jake, after 17 years with Meridian, we've decided to eliminate your position. Please clear your desk by the end of today." The words pierced like blades. Jake stood still and gave a small nod. No outburst, no protest. In that moment, his mind raced back through all those sleepless nights, the emergencies, the weekends spent debugging systems, and the quiet victories behind every successful system recovery. He remembered the CEOs who came and went, but it was always him who kept the digital heart of the company beating. After the heavy curt meeting, Jake returned to his desk, the desk he had arranged and cared for with the precision of a craftsman. Silently, he began packing his personal items, a family photo, a coffee mug his son had gifted him in high school, and a small cactus. His loyal desk companion that had survived 17 years of fluorescent light. These objects weren't just things, they held the essence of time, love, and a man's unspoken dedication. His younger colleagues, mostly programmers he had mentored, looked on with a mix of confusion and pity. To them, perhaps he was just an old tech guy, outdated and replaced by newer systems. But the truth was, Jake understood the architecture of the system in ways no one else did. He realized then that within the ever-evolving world of code and digits, he was a symbol of an era. And yet that era now seemed to have lost its place. As he walked out of the management office, Jake moved slowly through the long hallway, but with the calm composure of a seasoned warrior. He knew that in the face of life's harsh blows, sometimes you must accept defeat. But deep inside, the flame of conviction and justice still burns. At that moment, amid the echo of footsteps on cold tiles, Jake whispered to himself, "Even when you fall, the most important thing is to rise again, not just for yourself, but for everything you've stood for." Before leaving the 12-story building he once called his second home, Jake took one final look. His security badge, once a symbol of loyalty and belonging, was now just a piece of plastic, obsolete yet full of memories. He turned the door handle without resentment, only a quiet acceptance and a deep resolve rising from within. Outside, Jake got into his old car and drove through the familiar streets of Columbus, watching memories drift past like leaves in the wind. He remembered everything. The all-nighters, the meetings filled with early optimism, and the fluorescent-lit nights that whispered secrets of technology. Every log file, every outdated message told a chapter of a story that could never be erased. In that heavy, quiet moment, Jake's mind felt clearer than ever. He was not merely someone discarded by the times. He was a witness to the evolution of tech, of ethics, of the human spirit. Every hard-fought step was proof of unspoken dedication, of silent loyalty, and of a pride no one could take from him.
As the city slept, the glow from Jake's monitor burned unwaveringly. He sat there, a strong cup of black coffee by his side, eyes scanning line after line of data, painting the full picture of the deceit. In the stillness of his darkened office, all emotions, from disappointment to determination, merged into one. Jake realized that although the company had cast him out, his belief in truth and his loyalty to ethical principles remained unshaken. Those long hours weren't just about identifying system anomalies. They reaffirmed his identity. He was once a guardian of some of the world's most secure systems, a man who could hear subtle disturbances in data. With instinct sharpened by years of experience, Jake connected the dots. Unusual payments, modified access rights, and buried transaction patterns were forming a clear picture of financial fraud. This wasn't just about money. It was a betrayal of trust, a rupture in the ethical framework he had upheld. A shadow fell over Jake's thoughts, but rather than retreat, he chose to act. He backed up all the data using his own encryption methods, printed charts, extracted email excerpts, each one a piece of indisputable evidence. Jake promised himself that every number, every line of code would serve to uncover the truth, becoming weapons in the fight against injustice. Though stripped of his title, he would not allow his dignity or technical integrity to fade into lines of meaningless code. The flickering office lights, the constant hum of the fan beside piles of printed evidence, everything merged into a symphony of silent grief and unwavering resolve. Deep in his heart, the fire of a system guardian had never been stronger. On the contrary, it burned even brighter in the face of betrayal. He knew that a single misstep could undo years of work, but for now, somehow, the truth was still there, quietly hidden in the data. All through the night, Jake sat before the screen, lit by the pale blue glow of LEDs, the sound of keystrokes echoing in the quiet. He could feel his heartbeat, his breath sinking with the silence around him, as if everything waited to be revealed. Despite the initial shock and heartbreak, he knew the truth had to be brought to light. And as the first rays of dawn crept through the window, a new sense of purpose surged through him, the resolve of a warrior sworn to uphold eternal values. More than just detecting anomalies, Jake felt reborn with each line of data, returning to his original role as a gatekeeper of technology, tasked with preserving the integrity of systems. Though officially removed from his post at Meridian, his deep knowledge, experience, and passion turned him into a vital link in the chain of truth now emerging. Finally, after hours of intense focus, Jake gently closed his laptop, eyes fixed on the screen with undeniable determination. He knew the journey had just begun, and every data point he collected wasn't just evidence of fraud. It was the first step toward a massive transformation, not just for himself, but for an entire system that needed to be rebuilt on long-forgotten ethical foundations. Morning came. Outside the quiet room, birds sang gently, as if promising a new beginning. Jake slowly stood, clutching his printed evidence and the trove of data that held Meridian's buried past. He was both a witness and a bearer of a mission: to rebuild trust, not just for himself, but for everyone who still believed in fairness and justice. In that moment of morning silence, Jake quietly said to himself, "Show them the truth always wins, no matter what they try." And in his eyes burned the conviction that one day the lies would be exposed and justice would prevail. These hours weren't just a battle between man and machine. They were a war between loyalty to one's profession and betrayal by the greedy. Jake knew the next step would open the door to a future where technology and ethics coexisted, where honesty was revered in every line of code and every figure. With unwavering resolve, Jake Wilson continued his journey, fighting in the world of data, exposing the truths hidden behind financial transactions and technical layers. He not only uncovered the signs of wrongdoing, but rediscovered himself, the man who would always rise to defend what is right, no matter how many challenges fate placed in his way.
On the way home, with raindrops lightly tapping on his windshield, Jake stopped by a small coffee shop. In its warm, comforting space, he slowly sipped a strong, black coffee, the kind he had shared through countless moments of joy, frustration, and discovery. The quiet murmur of city voices beyond the window felt like a balm to his soul. Jake realized that even when the world discards you, there's an inner strength that cannot be erased, the strength of loyalty, purpose, and pride in a life's work. When he arrived home, the warm glow of lights and the sound of laughter greeted him. With Andrea, his wife and partner through every storm, Jake found comfort in a simple touch of hands. They sat together, revisiting memories and healing wounds. He shared the events of that day, not just the coldness of being dismissed, but the pride of a journey fought alone, but never in vain. Andrea listened, her eyes glistening, her smile knowing. Her husband, though facing great loss, still carried a heart full of courage and resilience. Jake Wilson's story is not just one of dismissal. It's a story of a man who dared to rise after the fall, believing the values he upheld for 17 years would not vanish. Even when erased from the very system he built, his soul remained woven into its code, into every line, every function, every backup that carried his legacy. That day, as his car rolled under the golden glow of Columbus's sunset, Jake knew he wasn't leaving as a fired employee. He was walking away as a soldier of silent battles, one who fought not for glory, but for the integrity of what technology and humanity could be. His presence would live on in every bit and bite of Meridian, an indelible part of its DNA. Jake Wilson, though written out of today's system, left behind a love for his craft, a loyalty that never wavered, and a belief that true values transcend time. And no matter how many challenges the future held, he knew his strength, rooted in the past, would light the path forward. That night, under a sky full of stars, Jake looked out from the window of his modest home, his gaze full of hope and quiet determination. "Nothing ends," he whispered to himself. "It's just a new beginning." And within him, once more, the flame of devotion burned bright, an eternal reminder that even when the world turns its back, a man's true worth is etched forever into the fabric of time. The night Jake fought for the truth, sitting at his desk, the dim glow of night filtered softly through the window as Jake opened thousands of lines of data. Every precious second was spent meticulously combing through fragments of information, jotting down every tiny detail. The numbers that appeared didn't just raise concern, they sparked a steely resolve deep within him. His loyalty to the job had been deeply betrayed. These suspicious transactions weren't part of any regular system updates he had carefully supervised. They had been executed with precision, like someone had deliberately built an underground tunnel to reroute financial flows without anyone noticing. In the silence of the room, Jake launched his custom-built deep data analysis tool, a system he had developed himself over the years, capable of automatically logging every system change and flagging any abnormalities. This tool, once a humble script from his early days, had evolved into a fortress that now served as a testament to his dedication. What it uncovered was a pattern of subtle manipulations, from the altering of access permissions on key accounts to the approval of financial transactions through a special hidden channel. Fear, mixed with rage, welled up inside him. Someone had weaponized the company's trust, and they were slowly dismantling decades of effort from within. The deeper Jake dug, the more alarming the puzzle became. It wasn't just about shady dealings with Apex Solutions Group. There were also traces of other transactions routed through security gateways he knew intimately. Several high-ranking company accounts had been modified in ways that concealed fake payments. Each discovery was like a needle to the heart, but also a pen writing undeniable truth. Documents and internal emails slowly recovered, using specialized software began to tell a vivid story. A large-scale fraud was underway. Secret conversations between top executives, covert directives, and murky financial reports came into stark relief. Jake's anger wasn't just for himself, a man who had dedicated his life to Meridian, but for the moral betrayal and the deceit orchestrated by those in power.
Jake first spotted irregularities while reviewing system log files. Amidst thousands of data lines, he noticed strange transactions between Meridian and Apex Solutions Group, a vendor he had never heard of. Not only were the transfer amounts steadily increasing by the month, but they also aligned precisely with the launch of the System Upgrade project. The deeper he dug, the more he uncovered a connection between these transactions and CFO Brian Wilcox, who had family ties to Apex's founder. Using his long-honed instincts and technical expertise, Jake unearthed internal emails and secret meeting notes revealing a deliberate scheme to cover up large-scale financial fraud. Even though the office lights were off and the night deep, Jake's determination burned bright. He backed up, printed, and documented every detail, preparing a report that could not be denied. In that moment, in the quiet of the night, Jake knew his duty wasn't just to protect a system, it was to protect the truth, ensuring that corruption and deceit would never go unchecked again. Jake opened an old flash drive, the one where he had stored every piece of evidence over his years of service to Meridian. Inside were hundreds of files, internal emails, secret meeting minutes, and system logs, all proving the existence of suspicious financial activities no one had dared question. The screen's weak light reflected his silent resolve as he carefully backed up and printed each piece of information, tangible proof of a truth long buried. At a desk buried in papers, Jake pieced together the dark tale of financial fraud, unusual payments linked to Apex Solutions Group, and signs of a corruption network tied to top leadership. Though aware that these actions could paint a target on his back, Jake didn't waver. He scanned every number with an artisan's precision, making notes, highlighting key points, and storing the evidence in a secure steel case that no one would stumble upon by chance. In the chill of midnight, with only the sound of keystrokes and quiet breaths, Jake felt the weight of his responsibility to safeguard the truth at all costs. Each data line wasn't just proof of fraud, it was a vow of loyalty to integrity. Though justice might be cloaked behind layers of deception, he believed the light of truth would eventually blaze through, banishing the shadows of greed. As night gave way to dawn, Jake closed his laptop with a completed report in hand. He vowed that no matter the risks, no one would extinguish the flame of justice burning within him. His faith in truth only grew stronger, ready to illuminate the path of righteousness for Meridian and for those who had lost hope in justice. With all the evidence compiled, Jake sent a full-length email along with the detailed report to the board of directors. In the message, he laid out the suspicious transactions, altered access permissions, and internal emails that exposed the connection between Apex Solutions Group and secret directives from company leaders. Each figure and excerpt from meeting notes was arranged meticulously, presenting a crystal-clear picture of the financial fraud. It didn't take long for the board to call an emergency meeting. In the cold conference room, the members' expressions shifted from doubt to shock as Jake's irrefutable evidence was presented. The timelines, escalating payments, and detailed annotations left no room for denial. The data confirmed the involvement of the CFO and several key figures in the scheme to reroute company funds. As the truth came to light, the board moved quickly to contain the damage and ensure justice would be served. Despite the immense pressure, Jake remained steadfast in his belief that the truth could not be silenced and that justice would eventually triumph. Amid the tense atmosphere of that morning, Jake sat before his screen, heart pounding as he hit send. The email detailed every suspicious transaction between Meridian Technologies and Apex Solutions Group, backed by hidden log files, internal emails, and secret meeting notes. Every number, every data fragment exposed a tight link between CFO Brian Wilcox and key personnel orchestrating the fraudulent scheme. The email was a thunderclap, shocking the board into action. A crisis meeting followed quickly, where Jake's meticulously structured evidence left no room for debate. Subtle details and suspicious patterns confirmed the accusations, forcing the leadership to confront the fraud and take corrective measures. In that moment, as applause gradually filled the room, Jake's tension melted into confidence in justice and fairness. He knew that no matter how severe the consequences, the truth would always prevail and preserve the faith of those who still believed in it. If you found Jake's story compelling and want to experience more unique, inspiring content, hit subscribe and support our YouTube channel, where stories of justice and revelation are always waiting to be told. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next powerful story.